This is TWiT.
Nvidia is going to abandon their $40 billion, let's get the number right, ARM bid. I don't know if I'm sad or happy. ARM is currently owned by SoftBank. I feel like Nvidia might have been a good partner. On the other hand, there were a lot of people worried that Nvidia might, kind of take over ARM and make it hard for others to license ARM stuff. I doubt that would have happened, but I understand. Anyway, regulators are going to put the kibosh on that, both here and in Europe. SoftBank at this point says, we don't want it. We're getting rid of it. We're going to do an IPO. We still want to get out of it. Jason, any opinion?
I don't think that this changes much. I think that Nvidia still has a great future. They are going to be at the heart of what is this massive wave of artificial intelligence and machine learning that really over the next decade is going to revolutionize so many things. They're going to do just fine without this. ARM is also, they're going to be great. Like they have a great future as well, doing what they do, designing chips. Their chips are taking over the world. The wild thing is with what Intel's doing, becoming a chip maker for other people. It's very possible that Intel is going to probably be making ARM chips, right? Manufacturing ARM designs that are from ARM for other companies, and so it's a future that I could see them as an independent company still doing really well, and they have a great future. I think probably both companies. I think ARM has a better future potentially independently because the future, they have so much runway to their chips are going to be in everything over the next decade, more things. And under ARM, it was going to be a little bit limited under Nvidia, ARM would have been a little bit limited, but I don't think it really changes much. Both these companies have a great future.
Yeah, I'm very bullish on Nvidia. Here's a good way to win a bar bet. Ask somebody which is a bigger chip maker, Nvidia or Intel. Everybody will go with Intel. Intel's worth $211 billion. Nvidia's worth $582 billion. Second only to TSMC, which is easily the biggest chip maker by market cap. Intel's not that big. It's smaller than Broadcom. Smaller than Samsung.
They missed the whole mobile wave.
They blew it. Yeah, look at all four of these. The bigger ones are all mobile chips.
Yeah, it was funny. I found some notes from an old Intel used to always have in San Francisco and Moscone West. They used to always have this event, Intel IDF, the Intel Developer Forum. And I found these old notes from 2007 where Intel had all these charts about the next great wave is in mobile. And we're changing the whole company to take advantage of where all of this is going. And we're going to be ready for it. And here's our roadmap. I mean, they knew it was coming. And they just couldn't execute against it. They just weren't, their mindset wasn't quite what it needed to be to take advantage of it. And boy, did it hurt.
Ben Thompson's done a great series on his Stratechery website and newsletter about Intel. And I think his take is pretty astute. All along, he said Intel's mistake was doubling down on the idea of an integrated company where they both designed and manufactured chips. Mm-hmm. And they got beat by the companies that did one or the other. Yep. That by Nvidia or ARM, which were design firms, or TSMC, which is a build firm. And both TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, and Nvidia have gotten bigger than Intel by picking one. And Intel, because their fabs couldn't keep up with their designs, was held back and really didn't make competitive designs, and did, as you say, they missed out entirely on mobile. Their scale architecture was a flop. And so what is interesting is that Pat Gelsinger, the new CEO of Intel, who is a chip designer, he was instrumental in the 486. Harry, you remember that.
I do, yes. Pat basically designed that chip. He was the lead architect on that.
Yeah. And so now he's running the company, and he's done something I think that is a big gamble. But I think at this point, maybe that's what you need to do. He's decided to, in effect, do both, but not integrated. to build fabs. They build big fabs in what they're building a big one in Arizona, I think.
In Ohio.
Ohio
did a deal in Ohio.
That's right. And then also
$20 billion.
Yeah, $20 billion. But also then to double down on the design business. Harry, is this a good strategy, you think?
I think it seems like he's doing smart things with the cards that were dealt him when he signed up as CEO, along with being willing to make chips based on other architectures. They're also opening up the x86 architecture. So instead of a chip that based on Intel technology being what Intel thinks it should be, someone else could build on top of Intel's designs and tweak it, which is a lot closer to what ARM has always done, where other companies license the rights to ARM's cores and build on top of them. It sounds, this is, assuming this NVIDIA ARM deal doesn't happen, it's really good news for Intel. It sounds like in general, the tech industry would just as much be relieved if the deal doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I think it's probably overall, NVIDIA will be fine. I think NVIDIA is such a smart company. There's a decent chance they would have not have screwed up ARM. But I think there has been value to the fact that ARM has always essentially been Switzerland, this third party that designs stuff that any technology company can license and use. And that would have fundamentally changed if NVIDIA, which has always been an ARM customer up until now for its designs, had also owned ARM.
Yeah.
So I'd say on balance, I'm glad if it doesn't happen, although it might have been okay if it had.
Of course, at this point, the best-known ARM licensee is Apple with its M1 architecture. And I have to think Intel is somewhat stung by the performance and the power curve of Apple's M1s, especially since they keep saying, "Oh, we got chips that are faster."
They said they want them back. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, they want to make them. They want to make chips in the fabs for Apple, but
Right now,
And there's been
Samsung
this-
and TMC.
TSMC's doing a 3-nanometer process. Good luck, Intel.
Yeah.
There's been this really healthy competition among all these companies that license ARM's designs, and you have Apple taking some of the same IP and running away from Qualcomm, which ultimately is a good thing for Qualcomm because they have to keep up.
Competition's good for us all. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And they're building
couple
things they
of-
might not have been able to otherwise. Sorry, go ahead, Denise.
Oh, no, you finish.
I'd say that all these companies are doing things they might not have been able to if they were 100% responsible for designing processors from scratch. So it's worked out really surprisingly well. ARM always had this vision back to when they were founded decades ago, and it really came into its own just in this century.
Go ahead, Denise.
I had a couple of just government-related observations on this story. Number one, it's just, another sign that antitrust is on regulators' minds. The FTC sued to stop this merger. China wants to stop it too. So, and I'm sure, if EU regulators had any say in the matter, they would want to stop it too. It just seems like there's a lot of...
Well, he did because ARM's a British company, and I know the Brits were not happy about ARM being bought by NVIDIA. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's just, antitrust is a bigger force in the world than it has been in the last several years.
Is that good, do you think?
Yes. Qualified yes. Like, I do feel like the flood of antitrust proposed legislation that came out earlier this year, some was good, some was bad, some was ugly. So I do think that we have to beware of antitrust overreach, but at the same time, there's a reason why it's much more on lawmakers' minds. So I think this is just, another symptom of that. The other government observation I would make is, I'm not worried about ARM or NVIDIA if this doesn't go through, as both Harry and Jason have said. ARM is poised. I'm not quite sure how all this is shaking out, but it seems like as a chip manufacturer, they're going to get a shot in the arm from the government, if they haven't already, to bring some chip production to the U.S. and deal with these supply chain issues that we're having. So I think they're probably excited about that. And then on the personal front, one of my good family friends, the smartest AI guy I know, is the worldwide AI initiatives VP at Nvidia and the chair of their AI compute task force, and he's brilliant. His name's Keith Stryer, and he's going to take them to good places.
When we watched, we streamed the NVIDIA's most recent keynote. I was just blown away. Because of the Sammable Salmon in our car segments, I'm very aware of what NVIDIA is doing in automotive. It's obvious they're killing it in gaming, in crypto mining. They're just firing on all cylinders. They are in the AI. They're huge. In fact, this new Meta supercomputer they just built is built with NVIDIA and NVIDIA chips. They are firing on all cylinders, and I think they're a really interesting company. And so I guess, for that reason, they don't need ARM. And ARM will, if it does an IPO, which I think is likely, ARM will then be a standalone company, as it should be. And I think that's probably the best for everybody all around. But this competition is really good. I love seeing a strong NVIDIA. You know what we haven't mentioned in all this is AMD, which has been making
doing great.
Yeah, they've been making a run for it. Yeah.
Yep, they're doing great. And Intel as well. If we circle back to Intel, we all are going to be better from a renewed Intel.
Absolutely.
And Pat Gelsinger is a chip maker. He knows the industry. He's an excellent leader and CEO, includes lots of people, knows how to put the right people in the right positions. He'll do great at Intel, but the best thing that he has going for him, the one thing you can never control in business is timing. And he has timing on his side right now, because one thing that we've learned over the last 2 years, the last 24 months especially, is that having all of the chip making in East Asia and having all of those things shipped from there is not a good thing. And so the world is going to want to put that chip making in lots more places, in closer to where the product design, development, final manufacturing is. And that is going to benefit a lot of people, but it's definitely going to benefit Intel, especially if the CHIPS Act passed in the US, where then building chips in the US becomes as advantageous in terms of taxes and business investment as it is in Asia. Then you're not going to only see Intel building here. You're going to see, as TSMC is already, they're planning a plant here. Samsung is planning a plant in Texas. You're going to see this movement to decentralize the making of these chips. Intel has they have a level playing field potentially, and some opportunities to really go into this in a way where they can design where they're behind on, as we know from the nanometer, side of things perspective, but also in terms of chip making, they can start building, they know how to build and manufacture things. And so that's going to be an opportunity for them to really, I
worry a little bit because of course, everybody talks when they talk about chip shortage about Intel, AMD, Nvidia. The real chip shortage is not those chips. It's all these little legacy cheapo chips that are almost commodities. But if you can't, if who was it? General Motors had to sell a bunch of cars without seat warmers because the chip that controls the seat warmers is unavailable. If you can't sell cars because that's missing, that's just as big a deal. And I doubt very much people are investing $30 billion to build the chips for seat warmers. I don't know who's doing that, but let's bring that home too. That could be the $10 million fab. Yeah. Let's bring that home too.
It's true, but AI and machine learning, AI, the cost of AI is decreasing rapidly right now. And so because of that, over the next decade, the need for these more powerful chips is going to skyrocket, right? To power AI, like this Metacomputer and Nvidia and Intel.
That responds to my concern, which is we're building all these fabs. Are we going to have a glut in 3 years when they all come online and suddenly everybody's making chips? But do you think demand will increase to match the increase in productivity?
Yes, because of the how rapidly the developments in AI and machine learning.
Well, that's what's happened. That's one of the reasons there's a shortage. Is demand has increased remarkably. Yeah,
and we're just at the start of the age where almost everything is a computer, which means almost everything will have chips in it. and it seems pretty likely that will continue to ramp up at least as quickly as these new fabs come online.
Not always a good thing.
No, not at all.
Lisa bought a Mini Cooper, electric Mini Cooper, about a month ago. 854 miles in, it just stopped working. And I mean, literally, it just said, no, you know, everything's broken. It said, brakes don't work, lights don't work, drivetrain malfunction, like a Christmas tree. And we had it towed down to where we bought it in Marin. They said, oh, we don't know what. They had it towed to BMW for some, I guess BMW makes the drivetrain, in San Francisco. They finally looked at it. They said, well, it's going to take us at least 3 weeks to get the board replaced. This car is a car. It's got 4 wheels. It's got all the stuff it needs, except that the chip in it is malfunctioned and is undrivable. So Lisa, needless to say, is not too happy.